Hey, what's going on, guys? JTK here. Welcome back to another video. In this one today, we are going to be ranking every single Call of Duty Zombies game. Now, with this one, we're going to be including all the Zombies games this time, not just Treyarch. So that's going to include, unfortunately, Vanguard, Vanguard, World War II, Exos, IW, and any other just non-Treyarch game as well, along with obviously the Treyarch games with that. And yeah, without further ado, let's just jump right into it. And coming in at our last spot as the worst Call of Duty Zombies game, it's Vanguard, obviously. I'm glad that we now have like a definitive worst zombies mode in all of just zombies in general. It's worse than World War II because you have the operator system, which I've already talked about with the last video I did, the Cold War one. Watch it if you haven't already. But yeah, I pretty much just said that like there's no character, anything with that, and then the gameplay wise, even though Cold War made up with the good gameplay, Vanguard unfortunately just suffered because it didn't have any wall weapons, no wonder weapons. It just felt like a shell of what Nocturne Totem, the first zombies map, was. And yeah, it's just been so sad, honestly, to see how this game has just fallen, especially after like a good start from Cold War. It's just sad, but at the same time, hopefully Treyarch can bring up a next game in the next couple years. I heard they're bringing a standalone zombies game, so hopefully that pops off. But yeah, I would say without a doubt, Vanguard is the worst of all time. And coming up next, though, we have World War II. Now, there are a few things that I like about World War II, but overall, it's just not really a good experience. One thing they did really well with was the specialist abilities. It was kind of like the first take on what Cold War would do later down the line, in which it's more of a support thing that you use from time to time rather than just a Black Ops 4 or Black Ops 3. You pop it and you're safe for the next like 20 minutes. Other than that, though, another thing that I do like about World War II was the way that they did point transferring. You could press a button on your D-pad if you're on console, or a button on that you combine to on your keyboard if you're on PC, and you can actually drop points to other players. I actually thought that was a really cool thing, and I'm actually surprised that it hasn't come back in other like any other zombies game. So that was another good thing that World War II did. But other than that, though, the maps after the Final Reich were very like lackluster. Nothing really too cool about those. Yeah, it just all felt kind of away from zombies in a way. They tried to go for like the whole horror aspect, but it doesn't really work in zombies, so to say. Especially with like the jump scares, it just got very tedious and annoying after a while. First time through, it was pretty cool, but after a while, it just became really annoying to have to constantly do a jump scare every time you want to like turn on the power or something. Other than that, though, I will add another thing that I do like is that the pack-a-punch system in that game was pretty cool, to where you can constantly go back to the pack-a-punch with any weapon that you had, and you can buy ammo for it. Yeah, overall, I would say there are a few things that I like about World War II, but overall, obviously, like the maps are very lackluster, especially the characters as well. Probably one of the worst characters we've ever seen, character crews, that is. And yeah, and coming up next, we have Exo Zombies. Now, I don't really have any gameplay for this because I never really bought it. I never played it because it just came out way too late. The way they marketed it and released DLC for Zombies was very bad, in my opinion. There were some okay maps. I heard like Carrier was a pretty good one. I also heard Descent was actually a pretty good one. Noah J, it's not top 5. But other than that, though, Exo Zombies just kind of seems forgettable. The characters, they don't seem bad. It's just not something that I want to invest my time in. And I really don't like the pack-a-punch system in this game. It was the first game to introduce like a multiple pack-a-punch system where you have to pack-a-punch your gun multiple times. But with this game, you have to do it 25 times to get the max potential out of your weapon, which is very bad. Other than that, though, I really don't see myself ever playing Exos again, or for the first time. It just seems very forgettable and not really something that I want to invest my time into. Alright, and coming up next, now that we're done with the horrible Sledgehammer Zombies experiences, we can actually start with some real Zombies experiences, and next up would be World at War. Now this is Treyarch's first game, the first Zombies game ever, actually, and as the name entitles, it's just a bare bones experience, really. There's nothing too much with World at War. It did set up the Zombies experience. I can't put it lower than anything else because it is like 13 years old or 14 years old at this point. Like, it's not really made to be like super innovative and crazy. It was just a way to kind of bring zombies to the light. Um, it did its job back in the day. Sometimes I still come back and play it. I'll play like Derice or even Varrock even. Other than that, though, not really one of my favorites, but not something that I necessarily hate. And coming up next on our list, we have Black Ops 1. Now, I know a lot of people are going to probably hate me for this one because Black Ops 1 is known as like the super nostalgic game that everyone plays because it was their first game. But for me, I started off in Black Ops 2, so I never really got that nostalgic effect that everybody got back in the day. Um, Black Ops 1, again, it's another game that I don't hate, but I don't like either. It's definitely a step up from World at War, and I do appreciate what it did for the community back in the day. It kind of lit that fire that made the community where it's at now. And it does have some pretty good maps as well. Like Moon is probably a really good one that I like. Call of the Dead is also another good one. There's a lot of like good maps, but none of them really blow me away. But other than that though, another thing that I do like about Black Ops 1 is that the kind of look to it overall. I do like the way that the 1911 looks. It's very clean, and that's kind of just like what I see when I play Black Ops 1. Everything just looks clean and very good, especially during the time. It actually like looks a bit ahead of its time really. But other than that though, I wouldn't really say that Black Ops 1 is one of my favorites. I just don't have that connection to it like other people do. Now, next up on our list, we have Black Ops 4. And I know it may sound really criminal to put Black Ops 4 above Black Ops 1, but for me, I really liked Black Ops 4. I think it was one of the most underrated games. It has phenomenal maps like Ancient Evil and 9. And then, granted, it does have some bad maps too, like Blood of the Dead to some extent, but I still really like Blood of the Dead. I don't even think it's that bad. And Voyage of Despair, which again, it's a pretty bad map, but not one of my least favorites. Other than that, though, I kind of don't like the high round strategies, but I do like just kind of the customization and a new like breath of fresh air that Black Ops 4 brought, where it's not every single game I load in, I get jug, I get quick revive, and then I just camp in a corner until I die. It's kind of like changed up the pattern a bit, and I do respect Black Ops 4 for trying to do a new thing and switching that up, but it did kind of flop on its face, especially in front of the community. Like, how are you supposed to explain to the community that Jug is removed? I feel like if they had like some better communications, then maybe the game would have performed a lot better. But overall, I still do really like it. I don't even think like the HUD is that bad, so to say, but that's just me. Anyways, Black Ops 4, it's kind of like a middle of the road game. There's a lot of things I like about it, but kind of a lot that I hate too. Alright, and coming up next is a really underrated game, IW. Now with IW, it's mainly here because of Zombies in Spaceland. Zombies in Spaceland, in my opinion, is a top 5 best map of all time. Other than that though, the rest of the maps kind of fall off. Raven the Redwoods is kind of like a medium tier map for me. And then the rest afterwards, I could do without. Mephistopheles is the best boss of all time that we have gotten in Zombies, and not many people know about him, which is just kind of sad because he is actually like a good boss, and it's kind of a boss that can compete with other bosses from different video games. And for that, I do really like IW. I also like the Easter egg rewards that they do as well, like with Director's Cut, where you can play any boss that you want when you're done with all the Easter eggs. That was a really cool thing, and I'd probably say like the best super Easter egg reward that we have ever gotten. Other than that, though, there are a few drawbacks from IW that I can see with some of the mini bosses on that game is just kind of annoying, especially since they brought back the aliens from Extinction for some reason towards the end of the DLC cycle. It's just really bad in terms of that. Other than that, though, it started off really strong. Granted, it did fall off eventually, but it is still a really strong game, and I would go back to play Zombies in Spaceland any time of day. Now, coming up next, we have Cold War. Now, with Cold War, the gameplay mechanics is what carries this game to its finest. The movement is great, the guns are great. I like how you can pack a punch your weapon multiple times in this game specifically because it's more, I don't know, it just seems more fresh and clean compared to the other games like Black Ops 4, Exos, and IW even to some extent. Other than that, though, the maps themselves are kind of just all meh. That's kind of like the drawback factor when it comes to Cold War. The maps themselves aren't really that good, but the mechanics and the way that the game just plays overall is just really, really clean and really good. And it's kind of the reason it brought in a lot of people from multiplayer and Warzone, because it included all those features together, and now the XP is all combined into just Call of Duty in general. And Zombies, furthermore, has never had this kind of experience where it's connected to everything in Call of Duty. It's used to just be its own separate thing, but now it's more connected. And some may argue that's a bad thing, but for when Cold War released, it was definitely a good thing because it brought in a huge number of audiences. It was like Black Ops 1 all over again, but this time I was there to actually experience it, and it was a really good time, especially for everyone that was coming in new. And for that, I think Cold War belongs right here. All right, now coming in with our last two spots, coming in second place, and my personal favorite, I would probably have to say, is Black Ops 2. Now, with Black Ops 2, it is my personal favorite because I did start off with Black Ops 2. It's a little bit weird from my perspective because my first map that I played was Transit in Town. I remember just sitting in one of my friend's house. We had the small room with the bunk bed, and we would just play Town all night. Those were some good times, but looking back on it now, obviously, it does have those drawbacks with Transit and Dire Eyes being some of the worst. But back then, Transit was just so mysterious in a way to where every time I played that map, I would find something new, and it just gave me like weeks and weeks of content in terms of just finding something new every single day with it. Granted, there isn't much enjoyable with the map, but it was innovative for the time and it got me into zombies. And for that, it is my personal favorite, but it also is just overall, there is one game obviously that is better. And that game is Black Ops 3. Now, obviously, Black Ops 3 undeniably is the best game. It appeals to everyone, I think, is what makes it very special in a way, because on launch, you had the Giant, which if you're not a super tryhard fan or if you're a newcomer to the series, then the Giant was a really good map to just jump into and get your feet wet into the waters and whatnot. And if you're a hardcore player, you had Shadows of Evil, which is by far the most hardcore map, and if you're into Shadows, it's definitely one of your favorites. But other than that, though, especially with the DLC season coming up, if Zetsubo is your worst map, you're doing something right, because Zetsubo is still a really good map. And then obviously you have Horizon Drag and Gorak Krovi, which are top 5 best. And then Revelations is a little bit lacking compared to those two, but still is one of my favorite maps. Overall, though, Black Ops 3, even without Chronicles or Custom Zombies, I would say is still the best zombies game out there. You had a new innovation with the Gobblegums, which opened doors for many new things for zombies to come. And especially when you add on Zombie Chronicles and Customs, it undeniably becomes the best, because with Customs, you have unlimited content forever and ever and ever. And then with Zombies Chronicles, it pretty much put World at War, Black Ops 1, and a bit of Black Ops 2 all into one disc with the Black Ops 3 experience. And overall, that just makes it the best, in my opinion. Anyways, guys, that's going to wrap up this video for today. I had a lot of fun making this one. Definitely was a pretty obvious towards the end that Black Ops 3 is always going to just be the best until maybe Treyarch releases a new standalone zombies game later down the line to compete with it, or something like Deviation Games, I guess. But anyways, if you guys did enjoy, definitely leave a like, subscribe, do all that stuff. You already know the drill. Leave a comment down below if you want to see me upload anything else, zombies or non-zombies related. I'm down to do whatever. And yeah, that's all I have for today. Peace.